Hello, friends. This is Dave Hurwitz, executive editor at ClassicsToday.com, here with random book reviews from the Overflow Room Annex. And as usual, we've got 3 book reviews. I'm here in my comfy, easy chair with its patched back and all that stuff. Oh, it's so nice down here, quiet, and to be surrounded by thousands of books and CDs and things. I mean, this is the place to be, I have to say. It's just splendid. But let's look at what we've got. Oh, I've got three whoppers. Absolute whoppers. You're going to love them. We've got musical forms, and Formenlehre. Formenlehre just means the theory of form, the study of form. It's, musicology is to a large extent a German field. It was codified and its basics were put in place in 19th century Germany, and so musicologists still lapse into German when they want to sound smart. I wish they didn't. I don't think it's helpful. I think it's snotty and sort of intellectually arrogant, but that's a lot of academicism these days, the world of academia. But here we have 3 major scholars, William E. Kaplan, James Hepikowski, and James Webster, who are very, very well known, famous music theorists and music scholars who've written wonderful books that we've talked about, some of them, in other fora. You want to be particular about it. But this is a short little book that contains essays on the theory of form by each of these guys. And then, this is what's interesting about it, the theory of form enunciated at first is criticized by the other 2, and then the first guy has an opportunity to reply to the commentary and to the criticism. So it's a real intellectual back and forth. And if you want to know what's happening in serious musicological academia, I'm not sure anybody wants to know that, but if you do, I did. I bought this. This is a good place to start. It's not terribly long. It's only, it goes on for 150 pages or so. If you think I understood everything these guys were talking about, then you're on drugs. I have no clue about what some of this stuff is, but I enjoy the dialogue, the back and forth. When sometimes it gets kind of vitriolic, in a nice way. But it's vitriolic. When these guys sort of get their dander up, you get the sense that they're being very passionate about how they feel about these issues. So it's kind of an interesting book. It was edited by Pieter Berger, and it's for hardcore musicology nerds, for sure, of which I was sort of kind of one at one point, but I enjoyed reading it. I did. I enjoy reading everything. I just enjoy reading. Because next we have The World of Yesterday, which is basically the autobiography of Stefan Zweig, who was one of Richard Strauss's librettists, and who had a rather unfortunate life, as an Austrian Jew who had to flee the country. Really kind of amazing. He died in 1942, very sadly, actually. And this is, I don't know how to describe this. He talks about growing up and living in Austria up until the point of the Second World War. And he writes at the beginning, "I never considered myself important enough to feel tempted to tell others the story of my life. Much had to happen, far more in the shape of terrible events, disasters, and trials than any other single generation has known, before I found the courage to embark on a book in which I feature as the main, or more accurately, the central character." It's really extraordinary. I can claim for myself among a countless multitude is that the only precedence, he says, I can claim for myself among a countless multitude is that as an Austrian, a Jew, a writer, a humanist, and a pacifist, I have always stood where those volcanic eruptions were at their most violent. 3 times they have wreaked havoc with my home and my way of life, cutting me off from the past and all that it once comprised, and flinging me with dramatic force into a void where I soon became familiar with the feeling that there was nowhere to turn. But that in itself was no great cause for complaint. The homeless, more than anyone, are free in a new way, and only those with no more ties can afford to cast consideration to the winds. So I hope that I can fulfill at least one of the main requirements of every proper account of a certain era and look at it with honest impartiality. An extraordinary book about an extraordinary time, and by a great writer, and very, very moving and touching book. Terrific. So after that, we're going to go into something a little more abstract. Haydn's Keyboard Music, Sources and Style by A. Peter Brown, Indiana University Press. There we go. Haydn's keyboard music is still grossly underrated. I don't need to tell you because we've been talking about recordings of it, including the fabulous new Haydn Sonata series recently completed by Jean-Ephlem Bavouzet on Chandos, which is just fantastic. It's good that Haydn's keyboard music is finally getting some attention because his solo keyboard writing, for the most part, is somewhat more interesting than Mozart's, and there's a lot more of it, and masterpieces abound, as always with Haydn, from every period in his life. So if you want to study Haydn's keyboard music, if you're curious about it, well, this is a really good place to start. A. Peter Brown has your back. It's a very, very interesting study, very well written, with bazillions of musical examples that you can look at and nod sagely at and pretend we know what he's talking about. I always do. And you'll be in business. It's a great, great thing to get into if you're a Haydn nerd. And boy, am I a Haydn nerd. So keep on listening, friends. Thanks for joining me. Take care.